You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 15. Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life.
Hello there, and welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here. This past month, the month of April, has been full of exciting things for us. It's the most full calendar we've had to date. So what we actually did in preparation for this month is we recorded all of our podcasts the month before. So we are so excited to be back and kind of update you guys on what we've been up to lately. Lots of exciting things. Josiane, what have we been up to?
Where do we start? I think the biggest thing is that we had this amazing opportunity to pitch our business in a contest called Fosso Dion, which is Lion's Den in French. And it was for the opportunity to win $15,000 alongside other local businesses that were also amazing. And we just learned on a much deeper level what EduCalm is all about. And we now have really the vocabulary to explain what our business is and what we're
bringing to the world.
Thank you.
We also, after pitching together, are ready to finish each other's sentences more than ever.
Or each other's sandwiches.
I love it when you say that. I don't know where you got it from, but it's the best.
And I think that now, because we were forced to learn how to pitch, we also learned what EduCalm's future will look like. Like, I think we just have such a clear vision now on where we're going. Yet, we're still getting surprised with things that are coming our way. For example, all of a sudden, there's tons of interest for us to go into daycare settings and work with the staff and the kids there. So that's new and exciting, and we'll be doing that over the next few months. And what else, Kaylee?
We have also been in more schools than ever this month because we're working on a big pilot project in a school division where they're promoting mental health and physical activity to their students with this fun project where every time they do 15 minutes of physical exercise, they get kind of like a point. So it's encouraging the kids to exercise with their families at home and during the day, and they're so excited about it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful project that we're part of.
Yeah, so we're really excited that we were asked to come into each school to first do a introduction to mindfulness
workshop
with the teachers, finishing
sandwiches,
our sandwiches, right? With the teachers. So that was really fun. In 5 different schools, we got to connect with the staff and, tell them about EduCalm, how we can help them, and of course, why and how to practice a mindfulness practice in the classroom with their students. And then we get to go back to each one of those schools to do yoga and mindfulness with the kids, which is so fun. You guys might actually notice we started with our first school where we were working with the kids yesterday and this morning. So my voice is a little bit hoarse today because I've been making animal sounds for the past day and a half.
The leopard, the snake.
Yeah.
all the fun yoga posture or poses that kids love.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. All the way up to grade 4. I love starting off by saying, "Do you guys like animals?" And they're like, "Yeah, we love animals." And then I'm like, "We're going to be doing all animal poses." And they're like, "Yeah." So exciting.
So fun. And I get to go do that tomorrow and Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So full week.
So we're recording this episode on a Thursday, but the Thursday before, you guys are hearing this on a Monday. So we're like getting confused with our days here.
We're confusing ourselves.
Anyway, so we're doing this awesome project and we're having so much fun. And another thing that we got to do last week, so I got to go into a school and it was so fun to return to my roots because they asked me to speak to a biology and psychology class. So I got to get back into the high school classroom and talk about how our thoughts create our emotions and how our emotions work in our body and how a mindfulness practice can help us to observe our thoughts and choose our perspective on the world. And that was so much fun. I got to, get really deep into the brain and into, the body's systems, the nervous system and stuff. So I got to geek out. It was awesome.
Kaylee, the science gal, as usual. That's your new nickname.
Yeah. So our schedule has been full and so much fun.
Really, it's been such a great time.
Yeah. So now we are just like itching to chat with you guys because it's been a whole month since we've been able to record podcasts, and we have a fun topic for you today. We talk a lot about how our thoughts create our emotions and how we can choose our thoughts on purpose to create the emotions that we want to feel. But another really important part of a mindfulness practice is really being able to allow the negative emotions to be there when they're big. So we're going to talk today about why it's actually super important to feel the difficult emotions as they arise in order to move past them and get back into the good feeling place.
So basically, we're not going to laugh for the rest of the episode, right?
Yeah, straight faces over here.
Because we're only talking about negative things now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. I challenge us to go like 5 minutes without laughing.
Challenge accepted.
So, with a mindfulness practice, what we are doing, like the definition of mindfulness, is to observe the present moment without judgment. So sometimes in the present moment, things don't feel so good. Sometimes in the present moment, things feel really negative and overwhelming or sad or frustrating. And in the mindfulness practice, our job, what we're trying to do is to observe that feeling without trying to change it, which seems kind of counterproductive in a lot of ways because a lot of times we want to just positive think our way out of feeling bad because we don't want to get into the mud and feel that negative feeling.
Yeah, and I think we hear so often like, you have to get through the emotion, right? And we're like, what does that even mean? Like, yeah. And that's, you just kind of explained.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, and this is what I've really learned in my experience, because I've always been a positive person. Like people would describe me as a positive person and they always have.
I would agree.
So what I really had to actually learn was to not try to just positive talk myself out of a difficult feeling emotion and to take the time to really feel it so that I can let it pass.
Okay, can you give me an example of a time that you can think of where this happened?
Yes, actually, the first thing that comes to mind, and this is like kind of personal, but I feel like I can share this. So I have type 1 diabetes, and it's an autoimmune disease. So it wasn't my fault that I got it. I got it when I was 13, and they don't yet know why type 1 diabetes happens. There's no scientific explanation yet. So it's something that takes a lot of time during the day and a lot of focus. So I have to test my blood sugar several times a day to see what my levels are at. And then depending on what I eat, what my exercise is, where my hormones are at in the month, how I'm feeling, my stress levels, there's a lot of different factors and then I'm required to give myself a shot of insulin depending on all those things. So in real life, it's pretty hard to gauge all those things. And so, I mean, things are good most of the time, but I do get to a point where I start feeling overwhelmed. Like it's just so much to manage in my day to day. And when I was younger, I would just try to like push through, like, I'm going to be okay. You know, things, it could be worse. At least this is something I can live with. And I eventually learned that it was really important for me to just allow myself to feel sad, like once a month or once every couple months.
Or whenever it came up, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so in order, like, I kind of think of it as like almost like a bottle of Pepsi or something like that. And there's like something floating in the Pepsi and the bubbles are like pushing it back up, this negative emotion. And I'm like, no, stay down. And it ends up taking so much energy to hold that negative feeling down that it actually makes it worse. The fear of feeling uncomfortable feelings is actually more painful than allowing yourself to feel the negative feelings. It's such a release when we give ourselves the time and the space to recognize, you know what? I'm feeling a big emotion. I can no longer keep pushing this down. It's not serving me anymore. I'm just going to give myself some space. I'm going to go in my room, or I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to do something where I can just allow myself to sit and feel like, what does this negative feeling actually feel like in my body? What is the sensation? What is the sensation of this sadness or this frustration? And when you sit there and close your eyes and actually feel the sensations, it's not that scary. It's actually not so bad.
And I think when you know that all emotions pass, right? They'll come and go, and you remind yourself that, you know, I'm feeling like this right now doesn't mean I'm going to feel like this forever. Just knowing that makes it easier to go through the emotions that you're feeling, right?
Exactly.
And I think that with little kids, that's often the fear, is that they are going to feel like this forever.
Yeah.
You know, like when they're having that tantrum or they're really sad about something, in their minds, they think that they're going to go through it forever. They're never going to be happy again, right?
Oh yeah.
And they'll even say things like that.
Yeah. Oh my God, I remember being a teenager and feeling like I'm never going to get past this.
Well,
like,
especially as a teenager.
Oh my God, emotions run so high as a teenager.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like this feeling's never going to go away.
This is the end of the world, right? That's the feeling that you get, like the world is over.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of this feeling that I have right now, or this thing that happened that gave me this feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And then as we get older and we become adults, all of a sudden we feel that we have to put on like our big girl panties. You know, and like now, okay, I'm an adult, so I'm not supposed to cry or I'm not supposed to feel bad. I have to always have this front of being okay at all times.
But that's not helpful.
It's not helpful because
it's not good for you.
No, it really is. It causes dis-ease. It causes disease in the body when we're holding in these negative emotions. And again, for me, it was always this fear of looking at the negative emotion in the face and really, really feeling it. Because I was so scared of feeling the negative emotion that it was the fear that made it worse. Once you actually sit and let it bubble up, let it fill your whole body, and then cry or journal about it.
Whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, or talk about it with someone that will just listen.
Go for a run.
Do some yoga. Oh my gosh, how many times have I cried in a yoga class when I just needed an emotion to get out? And it feels so good.
Yeah. I think what's interesting too is when you start a meditation practice, like you can actually take the time to notice what's going on in your body. And then sometimes it's like you don't even know that it's bottled up until you took the time to like scan your body and be like, hey, what's going on here? And then you just notice that there's this sensation that's really like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then you can just work through it, right?
Yes. For me, it's always in my stomach. It's knots in my stomach.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
I find it all like stomach, but even in the chest for me, the throat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't usually get it in my chest and throat. Discomfort for me is always in my stomach. That's interesting that it's in a different spot for you. It's just cool. Yeah. So I sit in my meditation practice, and when I recognize that I have a discomfort in my body somewhere, then I start going, interesting. Where is this coming from? Because we know that it's our thoughts that create our emotions. It makes a key for the emotion that's equivalent to that thought. So a negative thought creates a negative feeling emotion key, locks into our body, and then we feel that emotion. So if you guys haven't already listened to episode number 9. You should give it a listen. We talk all about biologically how our thoughts create our emotions in our body. But knowing this, I like to then trace it back. Like, what's the thought I'm having that's making me feel this way? What are your practices when you feel that you have a negative, something feels off in your body during your meditation?
One thing that was really uncomfortable at the beginning, but just to like feel it more, just to like focus on the feeling.
Yeah.
And normally just from doing that, like things like thoughts uncover themselves, you know? It's like, it just comes to me what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, just to really focus in on that feeling. So
yeah. I've definitely done that too. It's like day 1, I feel a little bit of knots in my stomach, and I'm usually like, oh, knots are there. Let's breathe through it. And then day 2, I'm like, oh, knots are still there. Usually takes me a couple days of feeling the discomfort before I'm like, okay, clearly there's something here that I'm not aware of, that like I'm not really consciously aware of. And then I like to think of it as like I'm stepping into like a jacuzzi tub. So, you know, when you like first get into a hot tub, it's hot, and I find it very uncomfortable first getting into a hot tub. And then once you sit in, you're like, and it feels good. That's how it feels for me.
Oh, interesting.
Feeling that emotion in my body. Yeah. At first, I can almost imagine myself like getting into that sensation as though it's a hot tub, and it's discomfort at first. And then it kind of like dissipates a little bit, kind of just releases. Sometimes I recognize what the thought is. Sometimes I don't, but I can kind of feel this sort of release in my body.
And for me, I think sometimes too, it's just like about listening to my body. So if it's telling me you need to move now, like go for a run, for me, run is often the answer.
Yeah.
I'll just know to do something next, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Another practice I really like to do when I'm feeling a big emotion that needs to be released is brain dump journaling. So
just writing everything out.
During my yoga teacher training, that was a practice that my teacher Megan Curry got us to do often. So it would either be when we first got up in the morning, we would do a brain dump, or right after a yoga practice when a lot of kind of things tend to come up. And you just write nonstop without censoring your thoughts. So you just write. And it's very interesting, the stuff that comes up that you're like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. I didn't even know that was bothering me, or I was worried about that.
Yeah, that's interesting. We did that a couple times too. And it wasn't an everyday practice at my teacher training, but I do remember doing that as well.
Yeah, it's like such a good release.
Also, during a yoga teacher training, there's just a lot of emotions, just all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lot.
There's so much that comes up. I highly recommend anyone that might be interested in doing a yoga teacher training to do it if it works for you, if it feels right for you, because man, that was life-changing for me. And I know for you too.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so now how can we teach this to kids?
So I think it's important for us to practice this for ourselves first so that we kind of get that you can't just always think yourself out of a really negative emotion. Sometimes you have to feel it first. So really quick, back to the thoughts create emotions. So if we've been having a negative thought for a while, we've been making a lot of negative keys, and those are in our body already. So I can't just quickly flip the switch to feeling good after, having a couple positive thoughts. It's kind of like, I heard it described once in it just made sense to me way. It would be like taking a shot of whiskey and then expecting to be like, oh, I'm going to think myself out of feeling drunk. You've already ingested those negative feeling emotions. They're floating in your body. Sometimes it takes movement of our body to help get it out. And then once we've had that physical release of that emotion, then we can start creating the good feeling keys with our thoughts. So with kids, if they're mid-temper tantrum, you can't talk them out of that. They're full of emotion. They have negative emotion keys filled up in their body. So movement is a great way to try to help them move through that. Maybe go for a walk, maybe dance it out, maybe do something to get out of that really high intense emotion state. And then see if you can once you can see that the emotion is lowering in their body, you can feel that they're getting calmer, then start layering maybe an appreciation practice, like what's going good right now. So maybe you don't necessarily explain it to your child in the moment, but letting the negative emotion come out through physical movement, and then starting to build momentum towards the positive.
And another thing that I learned during one of my professional development sessions when I was teaching was place yourself as the adult at the same level as the kid. And I tried that a couple times, then I used it all the time. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, because I used to just, stand there if one of my students was having a meltdown.
Yeah. So you mean like physically,
so
get shorter?
Sit down. If they're on the ground, sit down on the ground with them. It's crazy how just that will change their emotions, because then all of a sudden they feel like you're having compassion for them. Like as a teacher, it's so easy to just stand there and wait it out. But that's just one thing that I noticed that really helps.
I love that. And I like that you use the word compassion rather than empathy. So there's a lot of talk about empathy these days. It's important to be empathetic. But I really like how Jess Lively, if you don't listen to the Lively Show podcast, you might want to start it out. It's one of our favorites. But she talks about how empathy is feeling the same as them. And that's not going to help them. So if your child is, stuck in a well, you're not going to get down in the well with them. That's not going to help them. Yeah. You're going to stay up and you're going to be there compassionately for them as they get through the tough stuff and then come back up to your level. Then you can pull them back up to your level.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So to be there for them compassionately without
telling them what to do, or don't even need to talk at all.
Yeah.
Just being there.
You can hold space. Holding space. That's another thing that we learned a lot about in our yoga teacher training, was just being at the emotional level that you would like the other person to be able to rise up to without telling them to come up to you, without forcing them to come up to you, but just staying there with compassion, understanding that they're going through something difficult and being the life raft for them instead of drowning with them.
And I think just being present, just being right there with them.
Yeah. And that's another thing that comes from a mindfulness practice is don't try to rush out of this moment.
It's not going to help.
Yeah. Let's just be in this moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a parent, I'm sure there's sometimes that would be very difficult. So have compassion with yourself as you're trying to support the children in your life or the family members in your life or friends in your life. Have compassion for yourself if you're not perfect, of course. But just being there for them, holding space, letting them get through the tough stuff and being there to help them get through the other side. So hopefully this gives you guys some strategies and also just an understanding that it's okay to feel bad sometimes. Don't judge yourself for feeling bad. It's a part of our human experience. It's an important part of our development. Oftentimes we learn a lot after going through tough stuff, and we can be there for other people in a larger capacity if we've experienced something difficult ourselves.
And we can only grow from feeling the feelings, right? From getting through the emotions.
Exactly. We often like to explain emotions to children, especially in our, we have a whole module in EduCalm Classroom and EduCalm Family on emotions. And we always describe it as though you are something stable. Like, for example, you are the tree. And your emotions are something that moves through you. So it's like the wind blowing through the trees. You're strong and stable. You can just observe the wind. You don't have to try to stop the wind. You don't have to try to catch the wind. You can just be there to observe the wind, to observe the stuff flowing by.
That is one of our favorite modules.
Yes.
It's emotions and self-awareness.
Yeah.
And kids love that one.
Yes, they do. We use a lot of metaphors to explain emotion and in different ways. So, all right. Well, this has been an awesome chat.
I feel like we could keep talking forever.
Yeah, we could probably keep going on this. So we would love to hear from you guys. If this is something that resonates with you, connect with us on Instagram at EduCalm. That's EduCalme. You can always comment on our posts or send us a direct message. We love hearing from you. And also, oftentimes you guys ask us questions that give us ideas for new episodes. So if you ever have an idea for something you'd like us to chat about or dissect, then let us know.
And if you're interested in checking out our EduCalm Classroom or EduCalm Family,
you can find it at www.educalm.com. That's EduCalme, finishing each other's sandwiches. Have a great week, guys.